Hey guys, what's up? It's Heather Grand, and today for business training, I'm going to be talking about successful booths and some of my best tips and tricks. Now, I love booths. Our team has such a history of booths. That's really the reason why any of us are here, was because someone had a booth. So years and years ago, almost 8 years ago, Mark and Jen Garrett and James and Chelsea Stevens, they had a booth that was out on the Wasatch Front. And at their booth, Elise Coyle came by, and she actually sampled lavender essential oil. And she had tried essential oils before, but when she tried doTERRA's lavender, she kind of put it on and she acted like she wasn't interested, and she kind of walked past the booth and went and did her other things at this little farmer's market that they were having. But it affected her so much that she actually had to come back to the booth and say to them, why is this lavender different? Why does it smell different? Why has it impacted? Why do I feel different when I'm using it? And of course, you guys know the rest of the story, right? She enrolled. She decided to build a business. She decided to share with someone who decided to share with someone who decided to share with you. And so all of us are here because someone took the time to set up a booth. And they didn't know if it was going to be successful. They didn't know if it was going to impact or influence anyone's lives, but it did. And we're all here today because of that experience. So another booth, two booth experiences I want to share with you. All of you know my direct upline, Stacy Paulson. She's a Blue Diamond with doTERRA. She really had success in finding business builders through booths or using booths. So most of you guys know the story of her and Jessica Moultrie were really, really good friends. Jessica was a pharmaceutical rep, super drug lady, really into drugs. And Stacy introduced her to the oils. They had a Deep Blue experience and realized that Deep Blue was even more powerful than the prescription drugs that they were using for her husband. Casey had big back pain. And so she fell in love with the oils and used them, but Stacy never could help her to see the business side of doTERRA and how brilliant a business could be and building a business could be. And so Stacy had a sneaky little plan. Her plan was, I'm going to do this booth, but I can't do it by myself. So I'm actually going to invite my friend Jessica Moultrie to come and do this booth with me. And it's just going to be a fun day. I'm going to have her hand out the drawing slips and all will be well. And of course, the rest of the story goes, by the end of the day, Jessica realized that she could totally rock this business, that people could come to her and she could open up a book and help them find answers to their problems and their questions. And she realized how many people were interested in learning about essential oils. And so she rocked the business, built faster than anyone above her even, and has hit Presidential Diamond and is working even on her next M1 account, right? Faye and Joel Epps, who are diamonds on Stacy's Frontline, are another great example of why booths are so important. Stacy decided to do a booth at a gym, right? It was just an exercise workout gym, and she did a booth there and had some flyers set up, and it was kind of an off time. She wasn't there. But Joel Epps saw the flyer, saw the advertisement for oils, and came back when Stacy was there. And then, the rest is history. They decided to buy the oils, use the oils, build a business, and they built a diamond. And they're diamonds on our team and great friends of mine. And so booths are super fun. They're one of my favorite things to do. The only diamond kit that I've ever been able to sell, I actually sold at a booth to a lady who I had never met before. She stopped by and said, I've tried essential oils before. No one I know is really selling them. And I want to buy the biggest kit that you have, basically. And I was able to help her to get that diamond kit and enroll. And so I love booths. They are so much fun and have been such a joy and a huge blessing in my life. And I've seen them work big booths and small booths. So if you have a pen and paper out, you can get it out. I'm actually not going to slide share or screenshot anything today. I'm just going to talk to you because I want to be able to just really have a candid conversation about my opinion and my thoughts on booths. And I hope that you will take everything that I say with a grain of salt and realize that maybe what has worked for me might not work for you. And so figuring out kind of your niche and what is going to work for you. But I wanted to share with you these are just my opinions. There's a lot of opinions out there. This is what has worked for me and what I've seen very, very successful in the booth world. Now, most of what I'm going to be sharing with you comes from someone on our team. Her name is Brianna Coles. I think she's either a Blue or Presidential. I'm not sure. She's way up there. But she rocks booths. And everything that I learned about booths and that I have used that she taught me has been successful. So I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks about what she shared about booths. So first thing, get a pen and paper out because you're going to want to know what to bring to a booth. Now, obviously, you're going to need the basics. And I'm not going to share all of those, but automatically you're going to need some sort of a table, a tablecloth, and chairs, right? That's just kind of a natural, easy thing. The next thing you're going to want to bring is your oils, right? That's the most important thing you can bring to a booth. Now, you don't want to bring all of your oils, right? If you show someone an every oil kit at a booth and you have that in front of them, that's going to be very, very overwhelming to them. Their mind frame is going to be, in order to take care of my health naturally, I need every single oil, which we know that's really not true. And so for me, I usually bring about 10 to 15 oils. I bring the ones in the family physician kit, the most popular ones that everyone, knows, uses. Those are the most common oils. And I actually have those out on the table, open, so that people can smell them. I can sample people with them, and people can see what they are and what they look like. So you want to have your oils. You want to have samples that you can put on people, okay? So not samples out sitting anywhere, but you actually want to have stuff that you can sample people. So when I do a booth, I always have wild orange with me, a bottle of wild orange open, and as people are walking by, I'm putting that into their hands and helping them to breathe it in. So that's a sample that I'm sharing with people. I always have peppermint beadlets, okay? So I try to get rid of as many of these babies as I can. Putting that on someone's mouth, watching them pop it and breathe in for the first time is like the funnest thing ever. Like I literally, it's my favorite thing to do, is to give someone a peppermint beadlet and watch their facial expression. Like it's just fun to see someone who realizes that they've just literally tasted a fourth of a drop of essential oil, right? It's not even a drop of oil. It's a fourth of a drop of essential oil. And they see how effective and powerful it is. And it's just really, really fun to see. So I always have peppermint beadlets, and I sample as many peppermint beadlets as I possibly can. And then if you're doing some sort of an athletic booth, or like if you're at a gym, those types of things, then just having a tube of Deep Blue out and open that up, put that on people, get oils on people as much as you possibly can. So a lot of the same rules that apply to a class apply to a booth situation, right? You want to get as many oils on people as you possibly can in the only 30 seconds that you have to talk to them. Okay, then you want to have samples that you can actually send home with other people, okay? So I always have my sample case. I'll just show you here. I always have my sample case with me under the table. This isn't something out where people can see. I have under the table, and if I'm talking to someone and they need a sample of, whatever it is, On Guard, I can pull it out and I can give it to them. So I always have samples that I can send with people. And then I also use doTERRA samples, right? So a lot of times I'll have, I always have like Deep Blue rub samples with me. And then of course, just the shampoo, the conditioner, the On Guard. Once again, these are under the table. Now, you don't give these out to everyone, okay? Unless you feel rich and you feel like throwing money as people walk by, okay? So every time you hand out a sample, it's like handing someone $2 or $3. And so what I've seen people do at booths is just hand samples out to everyone. And it's like they're just handing dollar bills out, like it doesn't have a value. Like no one cares. Like, yeah, this is free, this is free, this is free. And what happens is when you do that, people don't see value in what you have. And so for me, those samples go under the table. Then as I'm talking to someone, if I can tell they're really interested, they really have a health concern, they really are serious about it, and I know that there's someone who is actually going to try it and appreciate it, then that's when I pull out a sample and I send it with them and I say, here, if I sent this home with you, would you use it? Would you try it? Can I follow up with you? Okay. So you want to have samples to get out to people, but don't hand them out like dollar bills, right? They should go under the table where no one can see them. And then as needed, as you find out this person really is serious, then that's when you pull out those samples and give them to them. Okay. You want to have reference books, okay? So if you're a Modern Essentials book, or I actually have the Essential Life book out open a lot of times. So we just did an athletic booth, and I noticed Shanae opened it to the athletic page and had it open to the athletic page. Super brilliant idea. But you want to have reference books where people can look up their health concerns right then and there, and they can see how easy it is to learn how to use essential oils. So I always try to have reference books. Usually I'll have one on the table where people can see, and then I try to have extras like behind me. So if we get 2 or 3 people who want to be looking up stuff at the same time, they can. So you want to have a reference book. Then you always want to do a drawing. Always. And it doesn't matter what the drawing is. Honestly, you could be giving away a 5 milliliter of wild orange. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you have a drawing so that you can get people's contact information, okay? So a really good, inexpensive drawing is an intro kit, right? It's $20. You can have it out sitting on the table and just say to people, hey, we're doing a drawing, if you'd like to enter the drawing, here's the slip. Now, a little thing that kind of goes with this, you do not want everyone to enter the drawing, okay? So I don't have a big sign that says giving away a free intro kit or big drawing here, enter here, because what you have is you end up with people who are just looking for a freebie. The only people that I want to enter that drawing are people that I actually want to contact about essential oils afterwards. Okay, so if somebody comes by and they're like, oh, I love doTERRA essential oils, I have an account, I'm not going to say, oh, would you like to enter a drawing, right? Like, that's dumb. Why would I do that? I only want people entering the drawing that I feel like I want their contact information. I want to follow up with them. And so as I'm talking to someone, if I find out they really are interested, then I'll say, oh, by the way, hey, we're doing this drawing for this intro kit. And I actually pull the drawing slips out from wherever I have them hidden. They're always hidden. And then I help them fill it out. Now, little rule of thumb with drawing slips. This is one I've learned the hard way over and over again. I usually should be the one filling out the drawing slip. The reason for that is because I can read my own writing. And sometimes I can't read other people's writing. So just know you can have other people fill out the drawing slip. But if they do, you run the risk of not being able to read their writing the next day when you're trying to follow up with them. And so that's just kind of a little catch there. Now, once someone has filled out a drawing slip, I take it from them, okay? I don't have a basket anywhere that they can put it in. I maybe do behind me, but I want that drawing slip in my hand, because the second that person walks away, I grab my pen, I grab their drawing slip, and I take notes, okay? So I might say, single mom, two little kids, had problems with sleep and wants to know about immune system. And I write as many notes as quickly as I can on the back of that drawing slip, because what happens is when you're at a booth situation, you see hundreds, sometimes thousands and thousands of people. And when you get home, you can't remember who everyone is. Like, you think you will because you talk to someone, you have a really good connection and conversation, and you're sure when you're talking to them, you're going to remember them. But the bottom line is when you get home, you can't. I've done this enough to know, and to know myself, that I'm not going to remember who that person is. It's just all a blur of faces. And so the only thing that I have when I get home is my notes. And so I want to make sure that I'm writing really good notes. The other thing that I personally do is I'll put a number on top of that drawing slip. So for me, and if I'm talking to you and I feel like you are not really interested in essential oils, right? You're just not a very good contact. I don't feel like we jive very well. Then I might number you at a 2 or a 3. And that helps me to know when I get home that was not a super great contact, not someone that I need to follow up with first, right? It's not a high priority one. However, if I am talking to you and you were like, I've been looking for this my whole life and I love these oils, and tell me about this one and tell me about that one, and I really want to get these in my home, and I can tell you're a really good contact, then I might give you a 9 or a 10 on top of your drawing slip. I'll just put that number by your name so that when I get home, I remember this one is the most important one to follow up right now. And I'll immediately follow up with those that are on the higher priority list. Obviously, I follow up with everyone, but I really do it by order of priority. So really good notes on your drawing slips. If you take nothing else from this entire video training today, take good notes on your drawing slips so that when you get home, you know how to serve those people. You remember what you talked about. You remember what you sampled them at the booth or what you sent them home with. You remember what their health concerns are so that when you talk to them again, you can sound halfway intelligent and you can meet their needs. So you always want to have a drawing. You always want to have drawing slips. A diffuser, right? So if it's an indoor booth, if you can have a diffuser going with wild orange or citrus bliss or something that's really yummy, that's always a benefit. If you're doing an outdoor booth, have a battery operated one, or at least have one there that people can see and be familiar with. You always want to have some sort of candy. Now, this is the magic of a booth. The reason that you want to have candy is because it draws people in. And if it doesn't draw people in, it draws their kids in. And so then they have to come over to get their kids away from the candy, and you have a chance to talk to them. So kind of a sneaky little thing. I've also done booths where we had On Guard throat drops or Breathe throat drops out for people. I really have mixed feelings about it. Yes, it's great for someone to try an On Guard throat drop, but what happens, or what I've seen happen a lot, is a little kid puts that in their mouth. They think the Breathe drop is gross. Like, they're thinking it's candy, and then it's a Breathe drop or an On Guard drop, and it's just gross, and they spit it out, and it's kind of a negative experience. The parent sees them spit it out and think it's gross. And so I have a love-hate relationship with. I think it's great to have those there and talk to people about them, but honestly, candy is the best way to go. Just have a bowl of Andes mints or something like that. Now, if you are doing a smaller booth with only, maybe 50 to 100 people that is going to be your market coming by, then that's where it becomes really fun. That's when you can do more things like peppermint brownies, right? So that's been one of my favorite things to do, is brownies with peppermint in it, and you cut them in little squares and put a toothpick in them and put them on the table, and that's super effective. Everybody wants to come over and try a brownie with essential oils in. It's a great conversation starter. You can have water on the table with lemon, right? You can have a pitcher of the lemon water with lemon oil in it, and people can, the little cups that people can try and taste it, and that works really, really well on a smaller booth. If you have a farmer's market or something that is not going to be high traffic, peppermint brownies or the apple slices with On Guard, any of those, fruit dip, anything like that is really, really effective and great. However, if you're doing a booth with thousands of people, that's just not, right? You just can't do it. It's just too much, and so that's where the candy comes into play. So class sign-up sheet is an option. So if you are doing a booth in your local area by where you live, you can have a class sign-up sheet. If you're interested in a class, you can sign up for our class and we'll send you a text reminder. Honestly, I haven't seen these be super effective. And a lot of the booths I do are far away, right? They're 3 or 4 hours away, so I'm not going to be teaching a class there the next week. And so, just kind of a love-hate, you'll have to just see what type of a thing it is. But if you're doing a booth near your home, within 30 minutes of your home, have a class sign-up sheet there. It's not going to hurt anything to have that and to start getting leads for who might want to come to a class. Now, why would you want to have a booth? First of all, right? You want to have a booth because you want to make new contacts. Now, there's a lot of different reasons that people do booths. Some people do it to educate. Some people do it to advertise their name brand. Some people do it to sell retail, but for me, a booth is all about meeting new people from all over the world and making really great contacts. So that's the reason that I do booths. I never sell retail at a booth, ever. And I know that I'm missing out on money that way. I did a booth this last week in Colorado, and I probably had 10 people ask if they could buy peppermint beadlets, and I probably had 10 people ask if they could buy Deep Blue Rub immediately, but I just don't do it. I just don't have it out on the table. I just don't want to exchange money and mess with it. A lot of times you have to fill out sales tax receipt stuff with the booth with vendors. You have to actually fill out and claim the different sales taxes. I hate that part of it. I hate the paperwork. I hate the cash. I hate having to order it. I'm not a Mary Kay makeup person. I don't want to be the Avon lady where I have to drive to everyone's house and deliver their products. So I don't do retail. Once again, that's just my personal thing. If they want to buy something retail, I send them with my link and they can go home and do that. But as far as having retail and selling it there, I'm just not interested in that. I'm there just to make contacts. Another thing to have on the table is some sort of resources that people can take. So I a lot of times will do tear sheets, where I actually have a class tear sheet that people can just tear off and take with them. I always have my information. I'm kind of sneaky, so like on the back, I actually just print. You can either write it or I cut it out. I put my information there so that people have my information on it. So anything that I give out, whether it's an A to Z guide or a Healthy Can Be Simple, it has my information on it. Facebook page, YouTube, those types of things. Every person that I talk to, I get their contact information. Like, it's just hands down, it's a no-brainer. I don't have business cards. If you do, that's great. I actually had business cards for the first couple of years of my business, and I felt that it was really dumb. No one ever calls you from a business card, or at least not in my experience, right? Like, they go home and they throw it away. And so if I'm giving them something that they're actually going to keep, I want my contact information on what they're going to keep, not on a business card that's super, super easy to lose, let's be honest. And so I don't do business cards, but I just have my information on class sheets or on intro guides, things like that people are going to be more apt to keep, and it's there for them. And then, like I said, the really important thing isn't that they have my information. The most important thing is that I have their information and can talk to them, okay? So that's just something that I do. It's really great always to have a product guide or a Living magazine, something where as you're talking to someone, if you realize they want to know about PB Assist or Terrazymes, you can open up that product guide and show them a picture. Makes it super simple. So as you're doing a booth and setting up a booth, you want to remember that less is more. Okay, the least amount of things you have on the table, the better. You really just want, 4 or 5 things on this huge, table. You just want a couple of things so that that's what people's attention is drawn to. You don't want a lot of other fluff stuff. You can get fancy. You can buy a whole bunch of junk, but just keep it simple. Same with it as you're teaching a class, right? You want oils and books, and that pretty much is all you need, besides drawing slips when you're doing a booth situation. Now, the key to having a successful booth, a couple of things. The first is that you have to have someone to go with you and do it. You can't do a booth by yourself, right? If you have to go to the bathroom or you need a lunch break, your table's left, you can't leave a bottle of frankincense sitting there. And so you have to have somebody to go with you. A lot of times when I'm doing a booth, I get drained. I'm a little bit of an empath, you guys know. And so I take on people's energy. And when I'm seeing literally thousands and thousands of people, that can get draining on me. And so sometimes I just need 5 minutes where I walk away from a booth, I go outside, I stand on the grass, I get regrounded, I breathe, and then I'm ready to go again. You need a friend to do it with you. Now, it's interesting to me. I am really, really particular about who I will do a booth with for a couple reasons. If the person sitting next to me doing the booth with me has a negative energy or a negative vibe, that throws my game off. And people are not attracted to my table. People that I would normally be able to connect with, or they see that other person with that negative energy or that scarcity mind frame, and they're not going to connect with me. And so I want to find people to do a booth with me that are very much the same energy as I am, very high energy. Now, they can still be totally different than me, completely different than me, but they have to be somebody who's positive and high energy. They can have a total different market than me, but they have to have high energy and be a positive, awesome person. So it was really fun. I actually got to do a booth with Brandy, and we were like totally different. I just love her. She's like the cool rocker chick that is just has well traveled and fun, and she has a totally different target market than maybe I do. But I love doing a booth with her because we are both such high energy that the people were attracted to us, and people that I talked to that maybe weren't connected to me totally could connect to her, or people that were like she talked to that weren't connected to her could connect to me. And so it's really nice having someone else there that maybe if not everyone's going to connect to me, but they might connect to the person next to you. The other thing that I really love doing a fun dynamic is to have a guy there. I've done a couple different booths, and when there is a guy there, guys can connect to other guys, or guys can even connect to other women differently than I would. And so it's a lot of fun to have both sexes there and see, who connects with who better. Just kind of a fun thing. So the other thing that you want to do as you are setting up a booth with a friend is to have very clear expectations on whose contacts are whose. And the rules of the booth need to be established before you ever set foot in a booth area. So I had a situation on my team once. It wasn't a booth I did, but it was a booth that one of my leaders did, and she had some of her leaders do it, and it was a big mess. It was a big fight over whose contact was who, and I paid for the majority of the booths, so those people should be mine. And well, I know you talked to them and they enrolled, but I paid for the booth, so that person is mine. And I mean, you can get into all sorts of junk. I don't deal with any of that kind of drama, okay? So when I do a booth, even if I am the one that paid for the entire booth myself, if I invite other people to come do the booth with me, their contacts are their contacts. I'm never going to steal someone else's contact. I'm never going to take a downline or upline's contact. That's just not how I roll. I really believe, and this is how I look at it and how I go into it. When I go into a booth situation, even before the booth starts, I pray. Okay. I mean, I'm a religious person. I'm a spiritual person, and I pray and I ask God to bless that the people that need to find me that I can help are going to find me that day. And then I bless that whoever else, that if they aren't connected to me but they need oils, that they will connect to the person that's going to be there and going to be with me that day. And it's really interesting because what I found is that as I go throughout the day, the people that need me find me. And I don't feel guilty when I take a break and I go eat lunch and I'm away from the booth for 30 minutes because I know I've prayed, and I know if they're supposed to find me, they'll come by the booth when I'm there. And if they're not, then it's okay. They're going to connect with someone else. And so I go into a very, very prayerful, very, very high, happy energy with a desire to seek to serve the people that I'm connecting with. And it's really interesting because I've done booths with people that are like that. Okay, I'm like that. They're like that. I might start talking to someone, and as I talk to them, I realize, you know what? This person's fabulous. They need oils, but we just don't have the same vibration. We're just not connecting. You know what? I'm going to turn and I'm going to give this person, right, literally as I'm talking to them, let me have you talk to my friend Joe, because Joe is awesome and he's going to be able to help you. And I will actually take my contact and give it to the person next to me if I feel like they're going to be a better fit. And if you have someone like that, then as they're talking to someone, if they realize, hey, this person's cool, but they would connect better with Heather, then you kind of share contacts. And it's really interesting that when you have people that you're doing a booth with, at the end of the day, I connect with the people I'm supposed to connect with, and they connect with who they're supposed to connect with. And there's been several times when I've been doing a booth, someone's literally ready to enroll at the booth, but I know that the person next to me is going to serve them better than me. And so I will actually turn to the person and say, hey, will you help them set up this enrollment? Or, hey, will you help them set up their account? Or, hey, let me connect you to them. You're going to mesh better, or whatever I, say, oh, hey, they're the sleep expert. Why don't I have you talk to them? And I will make sure that that person that I'm serving is served in the best way. And that's not always by me. A lot of times that is by the person sitting next to me. And so just have that feeling, have that attitude of gratitude and the spirit of service and abundance. There's plenty of fish in the sea, and I'm going to connect with who I need to connect with. And so when you have that attitude, it's the best thing that you can do. People are drawn to you, and you're able to help and serve so many more people. So that's just my rule. Like I said, I won't do a booth with anybody who has that scarcity mind frame or is like worried about getting all the contacts for themselves. That's just not attractive. Those are not the type of people I want to attract to me that I want to be on my team. So I'm really picky about who I do a booth with. And I will do a booth with a lot of different people from different walks of life because it's fun. And I know that they're going to connect with somebody. Okay. So not to beat a dead horse. So moving on, where can you find Facebook is the answer. where can you find booths, right? So Facebook groups, you can always look for like vendors, booths, trade shows, craft shows. You can search them. You can search specific areas and find out, hey, if I want to build whatever, Provo, Utah, what booths are going on in Provo, Utah, or what craft fairs are going on there, and you can look it up. A lot of times schools are doing them, churches are doing them. Look for advertisements, newspapers, things like that. You're going to be able to find booths and be able to sign up for them that way. Cost, as far as the cost of the booth, making sure that, with the cost of the booth, making sure that it's not super expensive. There's kind of a happy medium. Booths can really range anywhere in price from, $25, $50 all the way up to $300. And there are several days. You just need to know ahead of time going into it what you're spending, if you need booth insurance or not, those types of things. So one of the things that just recently did, Brandy, I have to thank her as well, helped me with this. One of the booths that I just did required insurance. I have to insure my booth so that if somebody walks by and, I don't know, pulls a book on their head, they can't sue me, they can't sue my company, they can't sue the vendor. Being able to get booth insurance, the insurance that we have right now actually covers anybody on my Heather Grant Wellness team. So if you ever see a booth or any of your people see a booth that they want to do that requires insurance, just know that you're covered under our insurance, Brandy and I's insurance. And so that covers anybody on my team. And so if you have any questions on that, you need proof of insurance, things like that, just let me know and I can help you get insurance. A lot of times bigger booths or vendors, craft fairs, those types of trade shows, things, they need insurance. So just know that that's covered if you're part of my team. The last thing that I want to talk about is when you're doing, so some people, when they go into a booth, their idea is numbers, right? And you hear a lot, it's a numbers game, it's a numbers game. And yes, it's a numbers game. But when I go into a booth, my goal is quality versus quantity. So for example, I've done booths with people before where, at the end of the day, I had maybe 5 or 6 drawing slips that were my contacts, and someone else had 60. And 2 weeks later, I've enrolled 6 and they've enrolled 0. Okay. And that happens a lot because sometimes people go into it with numbers. I want to get as many contacts as I can. I want as many drawing slips, as many emails. And what happens when you go for quantity and you're just trying to get as many as you possibly can, what happens is you really end up with nothing. Like at the end of the day, you end up with a whole list of people that you can then email and follow up with, but you don't end up with a quality relationship. And so when I go into a booth situation, and I'll even think about this ahead of time before I ever walk in, today I want to make really 5 good contacts. That's it. Even though I might see 1,000 people, I want 5 quality contacts where I am talking to someone, getting to know them, getting to serve them, and building a solid relationship with them. Because I know if I do that, then when I go home and follow up with them, our relationship is solid and they'll actually listen to what I have to say. They'll watch that intro video that I sent them. They'll get on the phone with me and talk, and we'll be able to strengthen that relationship. And so quantity to me is always so much more important than going home with 50 or 60 or 70 names that then I don't know what to do with, and they just kind of go on a list. So that's really, really important to me is that quality. And when I've focused on quality, I've always had enrollments from booths, always. I'm always able to enroll those people when I get home if I've built a relationship with them at the booth. And so you kind of have to do that, and you have to do it in a short amount of time, but it's a lot of fun. Now, the last thing that I want to talk to you is what you do when you get home, right? So most people think that booths are like the work, right? But what I have found is that booths are like the fun. When you get home from a booth, that's when the work starts. And the only way that your booth is successful is if you realize that the real work starts when you get home. So many people, I see this, they go and they spend all this time and they have this booth and they have these great contacts, and then they get home and then they do nothing. And then they wonder why they don't have the results. Maybe they got 1 or 2 enrollments at the booth, but then they don't do anything and they don't follow up with the people that they've talked to, and they don't serve those people. They don't seek to serve their needs outside of that booth situation. And so they lose them. Those contacts become, wasted. The people forget about you and you forget about them, and then you go on your merry way. The only way that a booth works is if you work when you get home from the booth. The real work starts when you get home. So let's say I do a booth and it ends at 6:00 p.m. I throw everything in a suitcase and I leave it all in my bags. And the first thing that I do when I get home is I sit down and I reach out to those people and I text those people. I say to them things like, it was so great to see you at the booth, and I loved hearing about all that you're dealing with. And I have this little video I'm going to send you on sleep because I know that that's what you told me was really important to you. And so I'm following up with those people immediately. Obviously, I'm going through and I'm doing the 10s and the 9s and whoever is the high contacts, I'm doing those first, but I'm reaching out to every single person and just letting them know, hey, you know, it's Heather from the booth. It was so great to meet you. Because the thing that you need to remember is, especially with big booths and events, you met thousands of people, but so did they, right? There was 100 other vendors at that booth that they met. And so if you can reach out immediately and say, hey, it's Heather from the doTERRA booth, then they remember you and they think about you and they remember what you taught them. And then that's when they sit down and want to learn more. So always following up with people is extremely, extremely important, and following up with them immediately. So anybody that responds back to me as I'm following up with them, sending them videos, I always try to make it person specific. So if they asked about you know, immune system, then I send them something on immune system. If they asked about headaches, I send them about something on headaches. And I know there's a lot of different apps there. Share Success has an app where you can actually plug those people, your booth contacts, into a series where it sends them out videos. You can do it that way. I love sending them my own videos. You can send them doTERRA's videos or links. But you're literally just trying to find what's going to serve them best, and that's what you're sending and following up with them. And then getting them on the phone, having a phone conversation, saying, hey, I have some time available on Tuesday or Wednesday. Which day works better for you for a quick phone chat, and being able to seek to serve them when you get them on the phone, okay? So following up with them immediately within 24 hours, that is just so vital. Don't ever wait longer than 48 or you will have lost them. It's experience tells us that's what happens. Last thing that I wanted to share with you, anybody that doesn't follow up with you. So like if I email someone and I don't ever get a response back, then I take that contact and that goes in my cold contact list. So I have a list of people that I email that's my email list, my cold contact list, and from time to time I'll send out videos or things like that. So I'm putting them in my funnel. I'm not forgetting about them. I'm not throwing their name away. They're now in my funnel of people that I'm contacting occasionally. One last tip, and then I will let you go. You need a question. You need a question to ask people. So as you're sitting at your booth or standing at your booth, the very thing that I say to people when I see them is, are you familiar with essential oils? Every person I meet, those are the first words out of my mouth. Are you familiar with essential oils? And then you'll have people say, yeah, I have doTERRA, I have an account, I love it. And I can say, oh, you're good, okay, keep ordering. And I am not wasting my time talking to someone for 10 minutes before I figure that out. And I'm not wasting their time. If you talk to someone and you say, are you familiar with essential oils? And they say, well, not really, then you know that that's someone you can talk to. But that's just a really great opening question. Elise Coyle gave me that question. I've used it at every booth I've ever done, and it's a great conversation starter. The other tip that I learned this week was when you talk to someone and you say, hey, are you familiar with essential oils? And they say, yes. And you say, well, what do you use? And they say, well, I use doTERRA. In the past, I'd say, okay, that's awesome, keep going, whatever, and they let them go beyond me. But the key question that you ask when someone says, yeah, I'm familiar with doTERRA, I use doTERRA oils, you ask, do you have your own wholesale account? And I am shocked at how many people use doTERRA essential oils and don't have their wholesale account. And so if they don't have their wholesale account and they say, no, I just kind of got them from a friend or I ordered them retail, that's when you can pull them in and you can educate them about the benefits of their own account and an RP and things like that. So those are some of my best tips and tricks on booths. I'm sure I've missed something. So if you have a tip or a trick, something that's worked well for you at booths, post it below. Let me know in the comment section of what's worked well for you. Keeping it simple, keeping it easy. One last thing I can think of that I didn't mention before was having any product or your oils at eye level. And this is one, do as I say, not as I do. A lot of times I just have things out on a table. But if you want the oils especially to be at people's eye level. So if you can bring a small bookcase or you can stack things up to where the oils are actually at their eye level. So when they're scanning your room, they see those oils at eye level. That's just a little sales tip. And then also standing, sitting, it really depends on the situation. People ask me all the time, how do I set up my table, or do I stand, or do I sit behind the table? It really depends on the situation. I've had success in both areas. Most of the time, you want to be able to bring people into your booth. So you want to put that table back as far as you can and be in front of the table so that you're actually bringing people into your booth space, showing them the things on the table, standing next to them and talking to them. But that's not always possible. Sometimes you have to have the table in the front and you're sitting there visiting with people. So it really depends on the situation. But whatever you do, Don't sit behind the table and wait for people to come to you and talk to you. If you're sitting behind the table and you're noticing you're not up front where the traffic is going, get up, go out, have your bottle of wild orange and talk to every single person that walks by you. Hand them a drop of wild orange and say, are you familiar with essential oils? Make sure that you are up and that you're connecting with people. If you're not, if you're sitting back behind a table in a booth and you're not talking to people, that's a failure, right? You want to talk to as many people as you can, and you want to focus on building quality relationships with people, because when you get home, that's what matters. When you get home and you follow up with them and you enroll them and you talk to them about the business, if you formed a really good connection and a really quality relationship, and they feel like they know you, they like you, and they trust you, and that's just a brilliant match. That's just something that's really, really fun and can continue to serve you and them for years to come. So those are my best tips. I love you all, and everyone have an awesome week and have fun. Get out there, sign up for a booth if you haven't done one. Reach out. I love to come do booths. I'm always willing and open to come do booths with leaders. So reach out. I'd love to come do a booth with you guys. Bye, guys.